2004. Can you take me back to what basketball was like back there and being on this floor?
It was a different feeling. The city was different. Basketball was like if you played high school basketball during that era around here in the city, you were like, like it was like the NBA. It was like an all-star game. And the competition, playing against guys, was second to none. I mean, from Olu over at Northwestern to Matt Trannon over at Northern to Brandon Dunbar over at Central to, Carmen. Every school had tremendous talent. And so being, in the mix of all that was like, it was crazy, man. It was something to look forward to.
Because you got a taste of Mateen Cleaves, Mo Pete, and all them playing before you got to high school. So seeing that, who was like the one player out of that Flintstone bunch that you really looked up to and connected with?
All of them. Because watching them at that time was like, they gave us hope that, wow, there's more to life than, just the streets of Flint. And those guys being from here, being from Flint, it just gave kids like myself hope.
Okay. I got something for you. Okay. Like you said, there was no YouTube back in the day or nothing. So I got this for you. Went back and you tell me, you got to tell me what's going on, because you had the Ben Wallace hairdo and then you had cornrows.
Oh, wow.
When you look at that video, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
It was almost 20 years ago. And I'm blessed, man. I really am. To be from this community, this small knit community, and to grow up how I grew up, and orange 8-pound leather ball literally changed my life. And seeing this old footage and seeing this stuff is like, I didn't know at the time what was gonna happen or become. I just knew that this was, until this day it still is, the gym is my place of peace. That kid, 15, 16-year-old kid, was carefree, and all he wanted to do was play basketball. And the same feelings and emotions that I had then, looking at this, it brings it back, because now I don't want to play, but my desire and passion is to teach it. There's an old saying that says a lot of the times you go through stuff not for you, but so you can help the next person. And everything that I went through, from injuries to how I grew up, losing my father at an early age, my mother, single, did a hell of a job raising myself and my two brothers, and even my two brothers, what they did, looking back at all that stuff. I technically should be a statistic, but God saw fit to sprinkle me with this talent. I can't take credit for anything that I've done. It's all God, man. And so watching that video gives me chills. Coming in this gym gives me chills, because I grew up watching my older brothers play varsity and wanting to emulate them. And for me to just have accomplish what I've accomplished on the basketball floor, it's unreal, man. One of my friends told me that, like, for the basketball program, that I'm the first former player to be the head coach for the basketball program. To think about stuff like that is unreal. Yeah. They're going to, excuse me. So I was informed too that, my number would be, hung up eventually. You don't think about that kind of stuff when you're playing. It's unreal, man. It really is. It's unreal. But you took me back with that. The fro.
Yeah, can you explain the fro? What was going on with that?
During 2004, 2000, the early 2000s.
Ben Wallace and all them with the fro?
No, not really. So, okay, what happened is I wanted to grow my hair out so I could get cornrows, right? So I could get braids. But what happened was when you're growing your hair out, we used to call it the ugly phase, where your hair is always nappy. So what I did, not to go through that phase and make my hair grow faster, I got an S-curl. So my hair actually started growing from that. And it was myself, my brother, and like 4 or 5 other guys. We got S-curls, and we grew our hair from that. That game in particular, that the first highlight that you just showed me, that game, myself and one of my best friends, his name's Aaron, but everybody call him E. We both decided we weren't gonna get our hair braided for the game, and we was just gonna let it hang out, man. So that's where that came from. And then I started getting a comparison to Ben Wallace when I saw it.
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah. But no, it was just one of those days where, we just didn't get our hair braided. And I remember walking in the locker room, and at the time, Coach Holliday looked at both of us like we had lost our mind. Like, what are y'all doing?
Wow.
What's going on with your hair? But, crazy time, different time, man. Different person.
So who was that person in that video?
That person still is, to an extent. A kid at heart with dreams and aspirations to do better for himself, to do better for people, to help, to give back, and then now to leave something for my children's children. One of my favorite books said that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And so that's my mindset now. But that kid was carefree. I didn't realize I grew up poor. I didn't know that until I went different places. And when I say poor, I don't mean like just going without. We actually, grew up a certain kind of way. And you don't realize that life is bigger than this 3-mile radius. 45 minutes away. Life is bigger than this. And so that's my message that I try to teach to our kids as well. 45 minutes away, whether you go to Ann Arbor or whether you go to East Lansing, 45 minutes away, it's a different world. A completely different world. And the antics and the things that you can get away with here, it don't work in either world. So I'm big on the mentality, the mind, because where your mind goes, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And it's hard to have positive energy though, when all you see around you is negative. But you have to choose what you focus on. Because at the same time, negative stuff going on, there's also positive stuff going on. It's up to you which one you choose to focus on.
You obviously chose the positive.
Yeah, but don't get it wrong. I didn't do everything right. I didn't do everything right. I wish I could sit here and tell you that I was perfect and I got good grades and I made the right decision all the time. I would be lying to you and myself. And so I'm big on being somewhat transparent. The one thing that I would never want to hear is, when I go to church is a preacher that said they never sinned. First off, I don't believe you. Second off, I can't relate to that. So I'm transparent with my players. But I'm also demanding, because in order for me to be demanding of them, I first have to be demanding of myself. But once again, I didn't do everything right. I told you this job and doing what I'm doing and the way things happen is bigger than me. This is God's plan.
So, Let me read off your senior year stats right quick. 25 points, 17 boards, 4 blocks, 4 assists. Like,
Really?
that's a full lunch right there every single day.
Wow.
AP Class A State Player of the Year. So, get all that, you get the accolades, you get everything. Like you said, you're still yourself. So, what went into taking yourself and who you are and going to East Lansing?
I knew that I had a chance to not only change my life, but my mother's life, my brother's lives, the people that will come behind me. What I didn't know is that the mentality that I had here didn't necessarily work in that environment. What I did know
Shot on
is the cost.
transition.
I told one of my players that in order to get what you want, you got to be willing to sacrifice.
We sat here in Michigan State, even though they were winning basketball.
Everybody want to go to heaven, but don't nobody want to die. In order to have a form of success, whatever it is, whether it be financial, whether it be on the court, whether it be in marriage, whatever it is, whether it be in your health, you have to be willing to sacrifice. I didn't understand the cost, what I would have to sacrifice in order to get what I wanted. And ultimately, at that time, it was to play in the league. But the sacrifice, I sacrificed with my body. A lot of people forget that out of 5 years at Michigan State, I spent 4 of them injured. 2 torn meniscus, a broken foot. I still got a screw in my pinky toe, about that big. So 2 torn meniscus on my left knee, 1 on my right, and a screw in my foot. One of my players asked me at the beginning of all this, like he said, why didn't you average as much in college? And I'm not sure, but I think I only averaged at the height 6 points and 5 rebounds or something like that. I spent all of my summers trying to get back to the level that I was at before I got hurt. I didn't get the chance to get better. And on top of that, going into Michigan State, I had lost the one person who I would depend on for advice, for solid advice. I lost my father. And so that's a rough time, that 16, 17, 18-year-old time, to lose the man that you would normally, lean on and talk to for advice. And when I lost him, I didn't know that not dealing with that properly would show up in my body. And really, that's what happened. The stress of losing him and the demanding schedule up there, and people checking on you, but not checking on you because it's coming from a genuine place. People checking on you to see what you can do for them. I had a broken spirit and a broken heart. I just lost my father, rightfully so. But I never took time to process it and heal it, and eventually stress shows up in your body. That's why they call it a stress fracture. And so I had to go through all that, though. I had to go through all that.
What was your father's name?
Joseph Washington Jr.
You said that was like your best friend. That was him.
Oh, yeah. So I'm the youngest of 6 brothers, 3 on my mother's side, 3 on my father. Okay? My oldest brother is around 59. So I think my father had his first son when he was 16, 17, somewhere up in there. So by the time I came along, my father's patience was really thin. So he was a no-nonsense kind of guy. And I used to think he didn't like me. But as I got older, I realized that he had been, and all of us are boys. It's all boys. So I'm the youngest of 6 boys. So, and even how I grew up with the guys I grew up with, 2-minute drive from here. You go down Bermuda, you go in the back of some apartment complex called Cranbrook. They used to call us the Brook Boys. Growing up with those guys and then being the youngest of 6 brothers, 2 I actually grew up with in the household, I had to fight. I had to fight a lot. But I was saying I used to think he didn't like me, but what I realized is that his patience was thin because he had 5 other boys before me. So he was tough, but he was loving, he was caring, he was nurturing, and he was wise. Something that was so complex to me, and I talked to him about it, and he would break it down. Part of the reason why I process information the way I do and talk the way I do, that's him. That's how he would talk to me. He spoke in parables, and he put it right where you can understand it and digest it.
Wow. So you talk about that mentality being from here.
Yeah.
So coming out of high school, you were ranked above players like Al Horford, who's been in the NBA for so long. Is there any regret to having that Flintstone mentality?
No. No regret, but what I do think about is when I should have, I wish I would have had someone to show me and teach me when to cut it off and cut it on. Coming from here, it's always on. You have to survive. And it's a dog-eat-dog world around here. And you have to make sure you survive. The thing that helped me in my favor was, once again, this gym and that orange ball. See, when people see that you have a talent or a skill, they tend not to, mess with you or try to get you caught up in certain things. So literally, basketball saved my life. But no regrets, none. I wouldn't be the man I am today without going through that struggle. Something I teach my kids. No one can save you from going through your go-through. You have to go through it, but don't only go through it, grow through it. I needed that for maturity and growth.
All right. So you've been around some great coaches throughout your career, starting here with Coach Holiday and then moving on to Izzo and then being around Mike Williams these past couple years. What has that been like? Like, who would you say that you really emulate in your coaching style?
All of them. But you forgot one, the late, great Moses Lacey.
Yep.
And his brother, Solomon Lacey, was my coach my freshman, sophomore year. And Coach Lacey was around. I remember Coach Lacey hit me in the head with his cane because when I first started shooting the ball, I would shoot the ball from here. And he hit me, boom. Keep it in your shot pocket. What's your shot pocket, coach? Between your chin and your navel. If the ball go below that, that's too much room for error. And sometimes I find myself saying the same stuff to our kids, and I hear him. Only I'm not as aggressive as he was. But Coach Lacey, he was about toughness. He was a father to us all. Any player that has ever come through here, he was a father to. Then after that, I got my last 2 years of high school, Tony Holiday. What I learned from him, I had skill and talent, but I learned how to play basketball. I learned how to think the game. I learned how to pick the ball up on a straight line. I learned how to see 2 or 3 plays ahead. I learned how to set a defender up by continuing to go right and go right and go right and go right, and then they cut my right off and I'm spin back to my left because I'm left-handed. I learned the little tricks and trades and then with Coach I really learned the definition of hard work. Not just doing it when you feel like it. Feelings has nothing to do with what you have to do. And how demanding you have to be of yourself and of your players if you want to have a form of success. And after having that kind of coaching and having an 8-year career playing abroad, it was easy for me to go play professional because I was prepared properly. And then, so you talk about Mike. Mike showed me how to not to try to physically impose my will from a player perspective, but from a coach perspective. And one of the things I learned from him, he's a good coach know when to pull his kids off the floor, and a good coach also know when to shut up and sit back and let his guys play. And all 4 of those guys that I just named, sometime I can say stuff and it's like they're speaking through me. So I emulate all of them. Really, it just depends on the circumstance and the situation. Because Coach Leachy was tough. He put his foot in your behind. I think I'm like that too. Coach Holliday was a teacher. I think I'm like that too. Mike was a teacher and also put his own twist and spin to the system that was already there. I think I'm like that too. And then Coach Izzo is all about hard work, dedication, and sacrifice. It's multiple styles. It's multiple people to copy. I'll give you an example. So some I learned just from all 4 of those guys that is success has many paths. There's more than one way to be successful. But it's only one way to go about it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's more than one way to be successful, but it's only one way to go about it.
That's pretty loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty loaded. Wow. Okay. But my last question for you is, why come back here? What made you want to be here? What made you want to, when that vacancy opened this past summer, what made you say, I'm ready for this step now?
I owe it to this community. I owe it to these people. This community raised me, literally. I was the kid in the neighborhood that would go over everybody's house, and everybody knew who I was, and I go to your house, and the first thing I do is go straight to your refrigerator. That's how I grew up. That's how we grew up. It was, and so I remember when my father passed, the school and the teachers got together and they paid for my suit. I owe this community. Now, I'm not saying they get to hold me hostage forever, but in each kid, not only just the ball players, in each kid in the schools, in the hallways, I see me. And so there's no way that I could go through what I've been through, have the success I've had on the floor, and not come back and give to the kids, to give to the community, and not just this community, Flint, period. I'm from here, and I say that proudly. I'm from Beecher. I have an obligation to serve my people and help my people, because you never know who's next. You never know who could be the next guy, the next player. Nobody knew that I was going. I was a freshman year, I was 6'4". Nobody knew I was going. Nobody knew Monte Morris was going to be where he at and do what he did. But the people in the community, his mom, my mom, the Little League program that was here back then, the Spencer Easons, the Philip Matthews, the Kevin Haneys, the Larry Fosters, the Franklin brothers, Joel Franklin and the Vera B. Risings, the community. Those people that I just named off were a part of the community a long time, the Joyce Jacksons, a part of the community that actually gave their time, energy, effort, finances, resources, whatever they had to help kids in the community. I was one of those kids. On Saturdays out here, from about 9 o'clock to about 2 or 3, was playing Little League. That doesn't happen without some of those people that I just named. So it's my obligation, it's my duty. And I do it proudly.
Any pressure to repeat this year? You feeling any of that?
No, something Mike told me before he left. He said, don't allow yourself to feel pressure to do what I've done or to do what I did. You in year number 1, I'm in year number 18.
You sure he wasn't telling you that so when you guys play him, that's in the back of your mind?
Well, you know, eventually if and when we do play him, you know, it'd be weird, first off, because he got here when I was a sophomore. Yep, when I was a sophomore, he was the JV coach. And then I went off and did everything I did, and I come back and he was the varsity coach. And then he started telling me, come speak to the boys. Come speak to the boys. And actually I didn't know it, but in retrospect, I needed that because even though I had retired from playing, I would still mess around in the gym. But being around the younger players and around it, it was like something that would like the same feeling and emotion, the adrenaline rush that I got from playing, I got from teaching it. And he threw me a shirt and said we wear black slacks for the game. And I'm, what the hell is this, man? And he like, you've been at every practice. You a coach. And I was like, man, I guess I am. And ever since then, been hooked. So, no pressure. But there's a level of expectation. On our floor, we have District of Champions. Ultimately, that's always the goal. But more than that, more than winning a state championship, and change lives, man. Change lives the way that my life was changed through a small orange peel. Literally took me around the world. I've literally been everywhere. I've just about been to every place in America, and I got to travel to 7 or 8 different countries. I'm blessed, man.
Can't nobody say nothing to you.
All because of that ball, man. But because I was dedicated to that too. And I was good to it, so it was good to me.
So, see your line nice and crispy.
Oh, yeah.
So, I gotta ask you, who got the best skills when it comes to the Clippers in Flint? Who's that?
It's a few guys. My brother from another, EJ. My actual brother-in-law, his name Donovan, but we call him Dub. And my dog Ron, he can cut. He's just crazy. That's my boy though. That's my dog. Him and Heem up at caught my eye. But for me, those 3 guys, they can cut. And either one of those guys, I trust with my. You know how it is for us, man. I like for stuff to be a certain way. The razor line and all of that, and they do all that. They do a hell of a job too.
Because I remember the first time I came here, I looked up when Heem and Ron were at the other place.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I looked it up, and I was like, I went in there, I was like, man, please don't let them take my hairline back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I met Ron Crazy Self, and then Heem. That's my bar for every time I go in there. Like, y'all, you talk to Keith? You talk to him? Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, man, calm down. I get around to it.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
I got their support, and you know what I'm saying. You need that. You need that from people that kind of watch the story and watch how stuff unfolded and happened. You need that, but they crazy though. Man. They crazy. I love them.
Sweet. Well, thank you.
Man,
for doing
thank
this.
you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It was good sitting down with you.
Yeah. I appreciate you, big dog.
Good. No doubt, man. Appreciate it.
I got a strong grip there.
Yeah.